You ever try to move me? You best salute me. It's in the bloodstream. I'm feeling Rakudushi. The compound lessons, the lies, the deception, the FBI's weapons, the punishment, detention. And I just want to free you from this slave shit. See
all of the latest Ruthless content. What's good, all my Ruthless addicts? It is your girl Tika Deshawn, and I am here to bring you another Tyler Perry's Ruthless Season 3, Episode 8 recap entitled A Masterful Plan. Alright, you guys, let's go ahead and get on into it. So we see that Brian is in the punishment trailer. Now, you know we left off last week with him being in that punishment trailer, and they brought Lynn in. So at this point, there's a whole lot of begging and pleading for not only his life, but for Lynn's life as well. The highest is basically trying to get him to acknowledge or admit who the other FBI agents are. Now, he asks, is Lynn an FBI agent? And Brian says, no, she's not. And then at this point, you guys, Brian is constantly he's saying, help me. He's saying, please don't do this. And he's pretty much, every time he's doing that, he's looking at Andrew. Now, we absolutely know that Daikon pays attention to everything. So I don't know if this is a good thing that Andrew and Brian are getting eye contact. But if he doesn't stop, then Daikon is absolutely going to catch on to what is going on between the two of them. Now, Daikon takes it upon himself to say, well, sir, basically tell the highest, well, if he won't give you answers, maybe he'll give me answers. And he puts his hands around Brian's throat and begins to basically choke him. Now, I'm sure if he had held on even stronger or longer, that hold that he had on Brian's neck would have been very much so deadly. However, I think because of the pain that Daikon has in his hands from being sliced, I don't think he has the strength to be able to grab Brian the way that he wants. So anyway, you guys, he finally releases that chokehold, and Hayes tells Brian that he's going to have to kill Lynn. He's going to have to be the one to kill Lynn. And of course, Brian is begging and pleading, like, please don't make me do this. Please don't make me do this. So the highest says, well, I'll leave her in here with you and give you guys your last moments before you have to kill her. And so with that being said, Brian is there. Of course, he's sorrowful. He's sad. He doesn't know what to think. But you guys, before the highest mentions that, he also asked about Malcolm. He asked Brian, who is the man that came here with her? And Brian is like, what do you mean the man? Like, what man are you talking about? And then he asked Daikon, what's his name again? And he says, he says his name is Malcolm. And Brian is like, what you mean Malcolm? Like, you're lying. And the highest is like, no, I don't lie. I'm the highest. I know everything. And of course, that Brian is like, he's just hurt. So the highest says that's another thing that can get you killed. Not only trying to take care of everybody else, but anger can also get you killed because of the fact that you just told this man that she brought her side piece to the Rakudushi compound with her. That definitely causes some anger within Brian. So then the highest, Andrew, and Daikon, they walk out of the container. The highest says to Andrew, I know the truth. Because Andrew says, what do you think? What are you thinking? And the highest, like I said, he says to Andrew, I know the truth. And so Daikon and Andrew are left there alone. And then, just like I said, you guys, Daikon begins to question Andrew. He says, well, every time he was asking for help, he was looking at you. He wasn't looking at me or the highest. He was looking at you. And so the highest is, Andrew is like, here we go again with this challenge. You're challenging me again. You're challenging who I am. And Andrew, sorry, Andrew, but you and Brian, y'all kind of messed up the situation. Because if anything, you shouldn't even been looking at Brian, and Brian really shouldn't have been looking at you. But he didn't really know what else to do. He definitely knew he couldn't look at Daikon, which if I were him, I would have played it off and looked at Daikon. But that's just me. I'm sitting here and he's in there being punished. So anyway, with that being said, Daikon and Andrew, they walk off their respective directions because Andrew says, well, I'm just going to go check the perimeter, which would be the wise thing to do because nobody has really checked the perimeter since all of this stuff has gone down other than these soldiers that they have on the Rakudushi compound. Who knows? The biggest creep is Manny. And speaking of Manny, the highest, he goes to the highest and lets the highest know that the sheriff is at the gate. Now, Manny is anxious and nervous simply because of, what they've been told in the past, that when the government comes, it's time to put everybody on call, on charge, get everybody in order, get ready to get your guns and all that. But the highest says, no, you don't have to do that. You can just send them to my trailer. And then the highest thinks about it as he's sipping on his hot cup of coffee. No, you don't send them to my trailer because he knows to just wait for me at the gate. And so Manny is sent on his way. Oh, but before he walks away, the highest asks him, are you ready to be cleansed? He said, I know I'm going to need you to basically guard Ruth, and you're going to have to be cleansed. Now, I don't know if Manny knows what being cleansed means, but I don't know if that's what he really wants. But anyway, that's to be determined. We'll see how he reacts to actually getting cleansed. And then we have Joan walks up to the highest, and she says to the highest, I have everything in order. They have it where you can come to the bank. You can go to 2 banks per day. She says, but the only thing I need for you to do, highest, is we need to get you a suit. So that way you look like you're a businessman instead of what they may judge you as looking as. We see you as the highest, but they basically, the people at the banks, those professionals, whatever, they will probably try to judge you. And so she says, Joan convinces the highest about getting a suit. And he says, okay, all right, I'll play along. And then she says, maybe Ruth should go with you. She's going to be your wife. And he says, no, I'll handle this one by myself. So with that being said, Joan is able to walk away. She happens to see Ruth, and she lets Ruth know of the plans. She also lets Ruth know that I'm still working on the plan to get you out of you taking those pregnancy tests. And basically, just be patient with me. But of course, Ruth, being anxious at the end of their conversation, tells her to walk away. Now, prior to her sending Joan on her way, which was a little bit rude. Yeah, that was rude, Ruth. You my girl, but that was rude. So anyway, prior to her sending Joan on her way, she asked, have you seen River? No, Joan says, no, I haven't actually seen him in a while. So, I honestly don't know where River is. So then, just so happened, after Joan walks away, River comes running up saying that, the sheriff is coming. He's on his way here. Apparently, River has been somewhere being nosy. So he tells Ruth she needs to go and see up there with the highest to see what the sheriff is saying. And Ruth is like, no, I'm not going up there. Like, you already withheld from me the fact that this man on medication. You already withheld, way too much information from me. Plus, you said F them kids. So, in actuality, I'm really not fooling with you and your shenanigans today, River. So, he says to her, well, she says to him, well, why don't you go up there and stand with them? And so River's like, no, only you can do that. Only you have been able to slap him and, do certain things to him and, make him, calm or be calm or whatever the case may be. Ruth was like, I don't know, y'all. I don't really want to do this. But for some reason, she let River talk her into some bull, okay? So then we have the highest and the sheriff, y'all. When I tell y'all the sheriff has been in it, he has literally been in it. He has pulled up in his little sheriff car and he lets the highest know, you gonna have to pay me some money. In other words, you're gonna have to pay me some money basically for what? Because I'm tired of the girls. I done had enough, he said, enough box. I ain't gonna say the real word, but he said he had enough box to last him a lifetime. Like, now it's time for you to pay me. And so he said, well, the highest says, well, how much is it gonna cost? And the sheriff lets him know, I know you getting ready. The banks have already been calling me, telling me that you're about to, pull money out the banks. So I already know you're going to have access to the cash, but you're going to have to pay me. And so with that being said, Joan, she had already told Ruth that they're only going to be able to take $100,000 out at a time per bank. So you're talking about $3 million. They're trying to take a total of $3 million. That means they're going to have to go to what? A lot of different banks, 10, 20, 30 banks. I can't count right now, y'all. But I'm just saying they're going to have to go to a lot of banks to get a total of $3 million. And that's going to be a lot of trips to the bank, to different banks, 2 a day. All right. So with that being said, since the sheriff knows that the highest is about to start taking out money from the bank, now, the sheriff says, you're going to have to pay me. First, he says, you're going to have to pay me $1 million. But then he says, well, what about the other sheriff that you sent your girl Melinda in to check on? He says, the highest says, well, he won't be coming back. So at this point, Sheriff Conley knows that Polk is dead. With that being said, y'all, Sheriff, that was supposed to be your cousin or your wife's cousin or your wife's nephew or whatever the case may be, and you could care less about Polk. That's really messed up. No wonder Polk was misguided, but you had the audacity to try to give him some guidance, and you are all in the take with the Rakudushi. Like, I'm mad about that because Polk could have been a better person, but the sheriff ain't worth ish either, so he put Polk in a bad situation. Now, with that being said, the highest, once the sheriff says that situation, once the highest lets him know what happened to Polk, he says, okay, well, that's going to be another $1 million. So in other words, you're going to have to pay me $2 million. Now, mind you guys, sheriff, the highest already was only planning to steal $3 million from the cartel. Now, he's going to steal $3 million and then he's going to take $2 million and give it to the sheriff. That's going to take away from the plan that the highest actually had to get new vehicles and get new this and get new better housing accommodations and so on and so forth. And now the highest, his mind is running 1,000,000 miles an hour. So then our beautiful girl, Ruth, walks up and she offers Sheriff Conley some lemonade. Sheriff Conley, he ain't having it. He said, the last time, no, I'm good. I don't want none of that. I don't want any of that. The last time you offered me something to drink, that it had me crazy. So no, I'm good. I don't want that. So then she says, yes, sir, I'm sorry. So then the sheriff, he gets in his car, he says what his last little spiel, he says what he says, and then he go ahead and he takes off and leave the Rakudushi compound. Now, the highest waits a minute, maybe 30 seconds or more till the sheriff is pretty much out of sight, and he slaps Ruth. Y'all, this is something that I never thought that I would see. This is something, like when I told y'all last week that I feared for Ruth's life, this is that very moment that I feared for her. I never wanted to see Ruth be slapped, especially by the highest. If anything, because she's been slapped a couple of times during the entire show, but to be slapped by the highest was one thing that I did not want to see. And he not only did he slap her, but he slapped her, then he drug her from the front gate. Basically forcibly made her get on her feet. She fell to her knees at one point, ran into the gate at one point. Then she finally got herself up, and he literally drug her aggressively to his trailer, where he slapped her again. Once again, y'all, this was something I never wanted to see happen between the highest as well as Ruth. Ruth is my girl. I really, really, really did not want to see that, but they gave it to us anyway. There's only so much that Ruth, as one person, can do with the highest, especially with him being as mental health as he is. There's nothing anybody can do. Another thing that made me fear for her, if you look at this particular slide where Ruth is standing by the lamp, if you look down at the wall, there is freaking blood on that wall. I think that blood came from when the highest sliced Daikon's arm. I could be mistaken, but that's what it looks like to me. But the highest proceeds, to try to tell Ruth, or ask Ruth, well, what is it that you were trying to do? I don't trust you. You were trying to betray me. And she's like, no, your highest, that's not what I was trying to do. I was only trying to be a wife. In some cultures, wives are there with their husbands to greet the guests. And I thought that was what I was supposed to do, because there were no lines, no rules or anything set or guidelines set. So I really don't know what it is I'm supposed to do, and which is the truth. So then he kind of thought about it for a second, and then he said, okay. But before that, he let her know, give me the what did you hear since you were standing there? What did you hear? And she said she heard something to the fact about the old couple, a murder suicide or something like that. She said that's what she heard. He said, but since you want to hear everything, get my sword so I can cut your ear off. And so she's apologizing. I'm sorry. And she walks over, and she gets the sword. In the meantime, now mind you, she's still standing there with that sword in her hands, and she's doing the submissive thing by, giving him the sword. And he said, well, you want to know everything. You want to know what everything that's going on that I don't know what to do about. He said that we got a deputy that's been killed. We got Lilo that's been killed. We got the cartel we're dealing with. We got it's just so much. We got an FBI agent on the compound. We don't know how many other FBI agents there are that's on this compound. We got two, being Oliver and Lacey, locked up in punishment trailers. We just have so much going on, and I don't know how to handle it. She says, you're the highest. You know what to do. So she starts giving him ideas of how to fix everything. And, he calms down to a certain extent, and he says, because of course Ruth always has some pretty good ideas. But one of the things she mentions, she says, well, since we can't get, as much money as we thought, we could just take over the old couple's property. Take over their property, and we can move there. And he starts slowly but surely listening to the suggestions that Ruth has. So then Ruth, she sits down. She says, I don't know. He says, I'm not thinking of this stuff. You're thinking of this stuff. And she says, no, your highest. I only think of this when I'm around you. So he says, well, let's sit down and put our heads together. I guess this fool think that they're going to be able to transfer information through osmosis from her head to his head. He a fool, y'all. I'm big mad at the highest, y'all. I've been big mad, but this is just crazy. And this just shows me that Ruth is she has been an abused woman, to the point where being hit is almost like nothing to her. She literally was able to think on her feet through all of that, most women, or not most women, but anybody that's being abused, they would cower and not be able to consciously think of things that could get them out of the situation. But Ruth is, not only has she been in an abusive situation, but she's a very smart woman to think of some of the things that she said to the highest to get him, to calm down. And yeah, he got issues, y'all. He got issues. But Ruth is just looking like, oh God, here we go. That's the look, that's the expression on her face. She's not, of course, she's not smiling through it. She's just like, okay, how long is this going to take? How long are we going to leave here cuddled up as if he really, really listening to me? So anyway, you guys, moving along, we get to Elder Mother and Joan. Joan lets Elder Mother know, this is the big deal. Joan lets Elder Mother know, hey, we don't have enough money to buy a pregnancy test. She said we could either get the pregnancy test or we can get the highest medication. And Elder Mother Marva, of course, she's not with it, or Mother Supreme Marva, she's not with it. She's like, no, we need to get both. Like, in other words, I need to make sure Ruth is not pregnant so that her behind can get, dismissed from the highest. Joan is trying to convince her, no, we don't have enough money for it. And that if you go and talk to the highest and tell him, he's going to be upset about it. So why would you even trouble him about that? We have to get the necessities. At the end of the day, Mother Supreme Mother, she lets Joan know, no, you're going to do what I said. You're going to at least get one of them pregnancy tests. So with that being said, Joan's just like, okay, like if you say so. So then we're forwarded over to the pavilion where we see River and Zane. Poor Zane, she's slowly but surely spiraling down into emotions. She got her friend locked up her friend is locked up in the punishment trailer. She's been abused by Manny, disgusting behind, and she's also holding on to the information that she knows that Manny killed Zane. So River, obviously, I don't know the nature of their relationship, but he obviously knows that something is wrong. So he says to her, tell me what's really wrong, what's going on with you. This is not you. This is not the same Zane that I know. So she finally goes on and to tell him that Manny killed Melinda and that he has been raping her. Now, we know that Zane is pregnant, you guys, but we don't know who the baby's father is. Now, has Manny been raping Zane all along that he could possibly be the father? I've heard that speculation. But then the uniqueness of the relationship between River and Zane is questionable, as well as the relationship that William and Zane had, which was questionable. Who would be Zane's baby father? At this point, y'all, we'll probably never know the answer to that. Maybe if we're lucky, we may get some closeness. But at the end of the day, Zane lets River know what has all happened, and he says, okay, I'll take care of it. You don't have anything else to worry about. I'll take care of it. Now, how he takes care of it, or how he plans to take care of it, I really don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. So then we have Elder Mother Marva, who's always scheming and plotting, walks up to Zane, and she asks Zane, do you know how to steal? And Zane is like, no. First she asked, do you steal? And she was like, no, not since I came to be a part of the Rakudushi. No, I don't steal. But her point in asking her all of that was because Elder Mother Marvel, y'all don't, nobody gives her credit, but she's smart as I don't know what. She wants Zane to go to the market and basically steal pregnancy tests. Maybe Zane to get herself caught, but if she get caught, who she's gonna get turned into, because the sheriff is on the take as well. So anyway, we'll see. But that's what Marvel wants. She wants Zane to get to the supermarket and basically steal some pregnancy tests. Now, this is going to confirm if Ruth is pregnant or not, y'all. But we'll see. Anyway, I won't speculate on this part. We'll see how that plays out. So then we're back at the punishment trailer, and this made me think, the two of them, Oliver and Lacey, back in the punishment trailer. This kind of makes me think why we went from what we did last week to where we are now with the two of them. We went from Lacey telling Oliver, that she loved him and I just want ice cream sundaes. But the longer the anger festers, the more hungry she gets. She begins to get angry at Oliver. She asked him, she said, would you have let the highest enlighten you or cleanse you? And Oliver's like, at that time, I was all in for the Raku. So Lacey asked him, so you would have let him F you? And he was like, what? What are you talking about? She said, well, that's what it is. That's what being enlightened and that's what being cleansed is. He was like, no, I wouldn't have, basically, no, I wouldn't have done that. And I would have killed him if that's what it was. And she said, she basically called him out. She was like, you had the opportunity to kill him and you did nothing. So you basically went from making him feel good to making him feel bad about not shooting the highest. Yes, Oliver, you had the freaking gun and you had the power to get rid of the highest at that moment, but you didn't. And that's her question. Why didn't you shoot him? Why didn't you? So at this point, anxiety has set in for Lacey. She's tired, she's hungry, probably thirsty, and she's pissed off. So that's why it came to the conclusion, okay, yeah, I was sweet to you on the last episode, but this episode, I'm giving you the business. And that's basically what she did. So then our girl, poor little Zane, she came in to bring them a plate with 2 pieces of bread, which that's better than nothing. But she slid it to the point where they couldn't even reach it. And didn't even want to slide her arm in to slide it over closer to them. So now, it's like you dangling a piece of fish or you dangling some bait at a fish and teasing it. I'm almost gonna get it. No, you can't get it. I'm almost gonna get it. So anyway, she, of course, they asked her for a key. They asked her to do something to either scoot the plate over, because they're gonna know that you've been here, or they're gonna know that someone has been here. So at least slide the plate over so we can hide it, or eat it and then hide the plate for the most part. But she doesn't do it. She walks away, and guess who's lurking around the freaking corner? That doggone Manny, y'all. Man is right there, standing there waiting to do more torture to Zane. He snatches her up and takes her off. So then, y'all, finally, we get to the last scene of the episode. This is where we now know, which I already have that speculation, but we now know that Malcolm is the one that has been placed in that cooler. Now, we know by the actions that he's going through, he's trembling, his teeth are chattering, that he's frozen, he's cold. So don't ask me where they plugged the cooler up at. I don't know, y'all. But it's plugged up because, oh boy, Malcolm, he's trembling, he's cold as I don't know what. So they asked Malcolm, at first, Malcolm was like, he's just laughing and talking trash. He's straight gangster. He thugging it out. I didn't think nothing. I thought he would, keep thugging it out. And here we go, y'all. Y'all been looking for Lewis. Here's Lewis, who is a character that we see sometimes, but Lewis happens to be the one that takes Malcolm out of the cooler and basically flaps him on the floor like a piece of fish. And Malcolm is like, he's cold. It is what it is. You get put in the freezer and see a deep freezer and see whether or not you'll be cold. So then Daikon gets down to his level and he asks him, who are you? Who are you really? And Malcolm, he proceeds to say, yeah, I'm an FBI agent and I'm not the only one. And he's talking big grits, y'all. He's talking big grits right about now. Yeah, and they're gonna come and shut this Rakudushi compound down, and there's more than one agent that's here. And he says, who, Brian? Daikon says, who, Brian? And he said, yeah, and he starts laughing. And then he says, who's the other one. Now, after a moment of just still straight trash talking, I don't know if the drugs that burnt out Malcolm brain, but Malcolm finally reveals, y'all. He finally reveals what Daikon has been speculating this entire time. He says that Andrew is the freaking FBI agent. Yeah. So Malcolm is the one. Everybody thought that Brian would be the one to tell on Andrew. Unfortunately, Brian held his own. He did what he had to do. But Malcolm, unfortunately, revealed it all. Now, I don't know if he was talking through his high brain cells or if he was just, I don't know what Malcolm was going through. But at the end of the day, y'all, it has been revealed. Andrew is FBI agent. Malcolm, he told it all. Come on, Malcolm. There's some things you just don't have to say, bruh. You could have just held on just a little bit longer. But he didn't. And that's it. That was the end of the episode, you guys. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know, how did you feel about Malcolm revealing that Daikon or that Andrew was the other agent? How do you feel about the fact that Malcolm was even in the cooler? And then let me know how you felt about Zane and Manny. Manny getting ready to snatch Zane up. Do y'all think he will be able to complete what he's trying to do to her, or will she be saved by somebody? Hopefully she'll be saved, because I really don't want to see Zane get raped or beat up or molested or anything else in this at all, period. All season, any other season. I don't want to see it again. But anyway, that's not up to me. But that's about it. We had a lot that went down. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Make sure you drop your comments below. Make sure you share this with your friends, family, whoever, all the other Ruthless lovers, Ruthless addicts. Bring them on in here, okay? All right, y'all. Well, that's about it. Thank y'all so much, and y'all stay ruthless.
Doors wide open and unprovoked when outsiders want to steal